Hi chaps, chapettes, everybody watching. I'm gonna do this alchemy videos as a regular thing because the first time I did it, where I mixed my own paints to do a job, and I did it for a video and to see if it could be done, and also because the box set of the army painter was so high. I was wondering to myself, has painting really got that expensive? You look at everybody's videos and they're quibbling over Citadel, Army Painter, Vallejo, all the different paints out there. So I thought, well, can you make your own? And it turns out you actually can, and it's kind of fun. It's a lot more work, obviously. Well, it slows down because as you make stuff, you get to save it in the little bottles, and you always have some. You don't have to mix it all the time. You just at the beginning you do. Anyway, I am really enjoying mixing the paints. So I printed a Wyvern, poor man's dragon, and did the alchemy painting thing, mix your own paints and everything. Anyway, I hope people get something out of it and hope you enjoy it. I'm pretty sure this is a really niche area, so I don't expect a gazillion views or anything. But, again, I enjoy doing it, and it's no big deal having a camera on and me just talking, rambling ceaselessly while I'm doing it. So, enjoy. Thanks for watching. The reason I'm calling this Alchemy Wyvern, I'm going to paint this Wyvern, whatever it is. Poor man's dragon. I'm going to paint this using just the alchemy. So the cheap paints that we did in the first alchemy video being mixed with just the mediums I've got, some inks, and see what we can do with it with just, cheap paint. Now, I've already undercoated this with some black and some white, just spray, do it best, store, spray paint. Got some dog hair stuck to it, adding texture. So, anyway, here we go. We are going to do alchemy on a Wyvern. So one of the first things I want to do is I'm going to give it a black wash to get into crevices better than just doing the spray paint black and spray paint white. I want to actually get into those crevices because, again, the stuff we make isn't quite as good as the store-bought stuff. So what we want to do is highlight those shadows and highlights. You want to make them more defined to give yourself a chance when you mix contrast paints that maybe might not be as good as the ones that you bought. It gives them a chance to shine. So, first things first, I'm going to mix some black wash. I got a bottle, but I'm going to mix it because this is about learning to do things and doing things in front of camera. So, plus my black wash last time wasn't quite as good as I'd like. So, let's get it going. So, we're going to use, this is Pro Acryl Glaze and Wash Medium, which I've had good luck with. I'm going to use some black ink and the cheap acryl black paint. So, those are the ingredients I'm going to use and see if we can get the right consistency and the right, when it dries it doesn't go splotchy. We want the pigments to actually be in the medium, distributed well. So, let's give it a chance. So let's give it a go. So let's put in some of the medium. Again, very scientifically measured. Hey, I eyeball everything. I don't know why. Just because I think I have a feel for it, or I want to get a feel for it. So once you start doing that, you kind of always do it. Alrighty. Get some of this black. Back in. See, the thing I like about these they have these stoppers that are kind of airtight, which stops your paints drying up, especially if there's 80 paints in there. The chances of me using all of them over the next year, pretty slim. Who knows? Alright, so we got like this charcoal coloured slurry. I'm going to try not to use the ink. So now I want to get it to a wash consistency. So I'm going to use water for that, because it's acrylic, water-based. And then I'm just going to grab an old model. I always try and have a test model so I can see what it's going to do, roughly. This feels kind of thick still. Well, I don't know. It's not running quite as much as I'd like. So let's thin that down a little. Now you can use other things. I've seen people use other things, but I don't know, the evaporation is different. When you start using all different types of liquid, like if you put alcohol in or spirit in or whatever, it's like, well, it doesn't stay that way over time. I just try and keep it simple as I can. Alchemy. There we go. So that, I hope the camera focuses on it. That is kind of what I'd like to see. So it leaves the tops practically untouched and pulls nicely in the crevices. So let's try a part of our Wyvern. Wyvern. You say Wyvern, I say Wyvern. Let's see what this does. There we go. So this is helping us see all of the details, contours, etc. And you want it to run quite well. So it's actually, instead of just being like a grey, it's actually, forming some pretty sharp lines, which is what you want. That's what I'm after. So if I were intelligent, I would have been weighing what I'm putting in, but then, I'd have less experience just doing it by eye. So now I shouldn't really need to do all of this. So I'm going to pull some of this back. Where I do want to go is in the depths of folds. And then the rest of this has got to be, pretty thin. The other thing that I find, as far as things like pooling and such, if you are doing a clean model, let's say you're doing a high elf in nice shiny armor, then you're right, pooling is bad. But if you're painting something grubby, especially monsters, I've found that sometimes that pooling effect gives you a basic grime look. Now I might be wrong, but why they shouldn't be always as clean, maybe, unless you're going for that cartoony look, especially like the Games Workshop box art stuff. But I've always been more a fan of like the Tolkien-esque pastel kind of look. So as you can see, we're seeing quite a few features being defined. So I'm going to finish off with this and then I'll come back when I'm done. Alrighty, so there it is. Basically slopped all over. There's not a lot of skill in this. I mean, if you mix your paints, you let the model paint itself. All I've done is put a decent amount all over it and let it run into. So now I'm going to let this dry, and then once it's dry, I'm going to go back and then we're going to give it a quick dry brush of white to, you know, bring up the highlighted areas again. And I'm not going to dry brush all of it. I'm going to think about where my light sources are going to come from, and also what people are going to look at, which is always going to be the face, the clawy bits, the tail. You know, this is where people are going to focus in on. So I'll come back when we're ready to dry brush. All right, so now we're going to do alchemy. Now, this Wyvern is going to have two basic greens. It's going to have a lighter green, like around the wings, and softer parts of the head, maybe. And then the scales and the heavy parts are going to be a darker green. So, from our budget paints, let me get these out. This is the handful of greens that I grabbed out there. I also grabbed the yellow, because Goblin and Orc green has a lot of yellow in it, which I like. So I am going to do, this is going to be my base for the lighter green of the wings. Probably going to darken it down a little bit and try and get it a little more matte. So let's start with that one. I'm going to put it in the Joe Sonia, which is, you know, the medium, which is makes it more like a contrast paint, which is what I want. I want it somewhere between a contrast paint and an ink. So let's get scientifically measure that. That's about right. And then so let's get a nice glop of this and get green in. Yeah, I think that's enough of the green paint. I'll put that to one side. Now I do have a couple of green inks because I want to do more of a see-through paint. It's a little too bluish. This is more along the lines of the yellow-green, so let's put a drop of this in there. Scientifically measured, counting to 2. Oops, a little bit too light, I think. Because hopefully, if I get this right, it can be a little darker because the lighter bits will shine through because of the translucency. Which means if I make it too light, the stuff that runs into the gaps might not be dark enough. So there's that. That looks a nice medium light green. Now the next thing we need to do is make it so that it is translucent, which means I'm going to make it thinner. You don't want to go too crazy on this because otherwise it will just, you know, be a total washout. Which is fine if you want to put multiple layers on, but I don't really want to. So if we see, yeah, let's put up. Around the edges, mess with, kind of see translucent, see how translucent it is. A little bit more medium in. You know I'm making this up, but you get a feel for it if you do it a few times. That consistency is kind of nice. Just worried about the translucency. I also don't want it to go. So what I am going to do again myself a little test model. L2. I don't know though when it dries. Give it a go. I think if anything, that's probably too see-through. I'm going to pour a little bit of this matcha green in there. Just a little tiny bit. Let's just use the lid. As it was meant to be used. Feels like that's sitting better. We just add a little bit more, and I think we'll be good. Put some on our jeans too, why not? Alright, this is going on the wings. Again, for those of you who don't like the colour, the nice thing is you can do whatever you want, really. So, I think, because I'm going to put a wash over the top of this as well anyway. So, all we want to do is put on a very thin coat. As you can see, don't leave any big gobbins on it. Let's get a thin coat over there. And as you can see, what we did before is showing through. Alrighty, so I slapped that all over basically. Well, apart from the horns, which I'm going to do different. You know, I ain't worried too much right now about the details, so I'm just getting the base coverings on. So you can see. One thing you gotta watch for if you're gonna do this, because it's thinner and like gelatinous-y, it's gonna try and pull in these where it's supposed to be darker, and we're using the light paint, so make sure it doesn't pull down here too much, and try and just keep it a smooth layer over everything. It likes to get into the cracks and stuff, but keep it out and just slather it on. There's absolutely no painting skill I've used up to now. I've just been slathering stuff on. The rest is just alchemy. So I'm going to think about the next step, which is going to be a darker wash to go over it and pick out details again and get into a darker green. So I'll come back when I'm doing that. Alrighty, so now we're looking at next stage. I'm going to put a dark green wash. So for that I'm using the Pro Acryl again, glaze and wash, medium. Then again, this is scientifically measured. And then into that, again, it's alchemy. We're using cheap crap to save. Into that goes some forest green. So it's kind of nice. You can hold bottles out and think, what am I going to do? What am I going to use? And I came up with this. So it's kind of nice. I like doing this with the bottle. That's the actual paint you're looking at, not some printed version of the paint. So again, let's measure this scientifically. There we go. Get a stirry stick. Now again, because this is going to be more of an ink, I want it a little darker because I don't know, I want it a little darker. So I'm going to use, now this is a blue-green ink. So I'm going to put some of that in for a bit of a change. Instead of yellow-green. Because I am going to highlight, dry brush highlight. So you kind of want a little bit of contrast with these scales and stuff. Methinks the downside of blue-green is not that. It's not as pastel-y as I'd like. It kind of, I don't know, makes it more cartoony than blue-green instead of the yellow-green. I could be wrong, I usually am. So there's that. Now, I'm going to add just a touch of black to flatten it. And I'm going to use ink because it's a wash. I'm going to find my ink. 2 drops. Pretty conservative with the ink. My 2 drops still might be too much. Yeah. Darn it. Well, I think that's a little too dark. Well, I don't know. You can still see it's green. Plus, again, I'm going to thin the crap out of it. So, let's try it. That's still a nice ink. Washy, shadowy stuff. Well, let's bring matey here that we did before. Get a brush. I think that's quite nice. Put a big gobby lot on it. I want it to settle in there. Yeah, I think that'll do it. So, let's try a little bit on the bottle. The other thing you have to play around with, or at least try and make yourself aware of, is how much work time you have with self-made inks and paints and all that stuff. So, well, I like it. So I'm going to crack on with this, and I'll get back when I'm done. Alrighty, so got my second layer on, and it's pretty much dried. So this is, let's get some more close up on that. So I think what I'm going to do, and again, I haven't used any fine painting techniques yet. I'm just getting my overall layers done. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a dry brush, and I'm going to try it with this light green, because it's a yellow green, which is what we're using. And looking at this stuff, I think it'll go well with this. I may do 2 highlights, but we'll see. And then the other thing I'm going to do is that black wash we used at the beginning, once these are on, once this is done, I'm going to do maybe a black wash, and then target it though. I'm not going to wash the whole thing, just to bring out some of the deeper shadows with the black. So it's kind of like black lining, but different. So let's give this a go. Remember, these are the cheap paints we're using, or I'm using. And this is Alchemy, so this is how to paint, or get a system going where you still want the paints to work for you, but it's kind of taking the training wheels off and making your own way in the colour world. So, and again, I'm not going to dry brush everything. I'm just going to go for things to stand out a little. You see, we're kind of building it up. And it's also kind of brings everything together, or at least some people may like, some people might not. So there's that. Now, the next thing I want to do is, while I've still got some of that green, this guy kind of got to be careful with. If you go too much on this, then you're going to have to fix it. Just adds in that yellow shade. There we go. Little bit of yellows. Look at that, I knocked that over and it didn't spill everywhere. Well done. I like these paints already. So, is that done? I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and then I'm going to black ink. Alrighty, so the black ink, we are using the stuff we made earlier. See? So it doesn't get wasted. I got a smaller paintbrush, and I'm making all this up as I go, so let's try it now. Alright. Let's work on bringing out some of the details. Especially like where the eye goes. So really what you're doing is just pushing around some shadows. Example here where his nostrils kind of got gummed up. See if you can get those defined a little more. Folds in his face, deeper. I screwed up on this horn. This horn was supposed to be black. So bring that back out. I'm gonna just ink the crap out of it and let it run. There we go. So then in these folds here, and by doing this, you can define features that you want to pick out a little more. And also get rid of any, like I say, I like grime. I don't like everything nice, shiny, symmetrical. If you look at things in the wild a lot, and I guess the best thing is to be like a crocodile. They don't have, their skin isn't all the same. Like I say, I don't consider myself a good painter, but this is definitely good enough for the table, I think. I've seen worse. This is kind of a fun part for me. Alrighty, get somewhere. Alright, I'm gonna let that dry and then come back, pick out some details, and I think I'm gonna call that done. Alrighty, so I did this off camera because I forgot. But I went in and painted the details, the tongue, the eyes, teeth, claws, stuff like that. I haven't done the saddle yet, but basically that's it. I've done everything with the cheap paints and mediums. Now I am going to, as I always do, come back and do some more work on it as I feel like it. Fine work, maybe some edge highlights here or there, and maybe some different colors here and there. But I mean, again, I'm not a brilliant painter, but I think that's table ready, and all I got to do is finish the basing, throw a goblin on the back, paint the saddle. But yeah, that's all done with just the cheaper inks and paints. And the important part, really, I think, is to get your acrylic medium right. So if you've got a good medium, you can pretty much use most of anything. I still got to figure out metallics, but that'll happen one day. So there we go, another playing with alchemy video. The Alchemy Wyvern, poor man's dragon. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, or the Inquisition will come pay you a little visit.